All right. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's been a long time coming, but I think I've seen enough. So as usual, we'll wait for a few people to get in here. 1 or 2 minutes, we'll call it, and then we'll go ahead and we'll have this conversation, or rather, not a conversation, I guess, but we'll have this piece laid out. No, I haven't been making videos. I'm lazy, so what? You can sue me if you like. But this may not be a video that's going to be well received. It may be. I mean, because according to the analytics of YouTube, I have 100% men. So, I mean, it may be a few betas out there that run across it. I don't know. It says it's 100% that that watch my videos. Uh, and my subscriber base is like 100% too, which is really strange because I know that's not true. But whatever. I guess a point whatever percent doesn't count as far as Google Analytics goes. But nonetheless, we are here. We are in the building. So, today's topic, of course, as the title is well suited, is going to be about women in this pandemic and the message that I have to them. Now, it may be a little bit on par with my previous comments, but nonetheless, it is something that needs to be expressed in a full length video, live stream rather, to where there may be conversation and dialogue for the back and forth. Um, I may actually include other people into this live stream if they so wish to engage in the dialogue. So we'll see how that pans out. Um, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking about it. What's going on, Amanda? What's going on, Miss Dimple? See, two women right there. But my Google Analytics says it's 100% men. That is not true at all. But as far as this topic goes, I think that it is something that should be well understood, should be pretty straightforward. Hopefully, I don't lose anyone in the rhetoric. But yeah, so I've been watching a few videos lately. I just got done, checking out a little bit. I've been watching Little Thinking Man's Templar and Little Black Ram. Of course, BGS, Angry Man. I catch up with him. The core tenets of uh, the more representatives as well. SYSBM, of course. Um, I've been watching people's videos, though I have a really huge backlog of videos that I need to watch. I watched Pimp God's latest video today. It was the gist, the name of it. I kind of like his content. I mean, because he essentially says the same thing that I say, and of course, there's a reason for that. It's because the truth is consistent. So you'll find it across the board, regardless of where you go. Though we all have our own perspectives on things, um, the truth is the truth. Uh, well, thank you very much, Amanda. I appreciate it very much so. Uh, but let's get right into it. So, I gave my message to the men, and it was in regards to how what they should be doing during this pandemic. Because let's face it, as much as the media says that it's safe to go outside, We know that it is not safe to go outside. So therefore, the same things that you have been doing, you probably should be continuing doing. Though you may have some more access to more things according to states opening up or remaining closed or giving alternative options, whatever. You should probably still practice the same, if not better, quarantining. And so, in this quarantine stage, I instructed that men should be doing certain things. So here I am with the instructions for women as well. And it's nothing that I have necessarily written down. It's just that, like I said, I've been watching a lot of videos, and I've been, listening to a lot of content. Not necessarily any women's content, to be honest with you. Um, I catch Raining Woman every once in a while. Um, I'm over at Kendra's course. I'm there. Um, you know, that's pretty much it. And it's no slight to any female creator content creators out there. It's just that for whatever reason, um, the content isn't something that I can necessarily take from at that point in time that I may be cruising YouTube, because I'm usually looking for something of substance that will generate thoughts in my mind. And I'm not saying that any woman's content doesn't do that. It's just that I know where to go for certain thought provoking content if I need it. So I tend to go those places. I'm not even much for uh, becoming new subscribers to men who I uh, do not listen to currently. To be honest with you, I mean, I see people posting things and other in their community tabs, from other content creators, and I just scroll past it like, some things I may watch every once in a while, but for the most part, I kind of stick with the group of people that I normally listen to, anyways. And that's for a reason, of course. But nonetheless, I do, on an off chance, come across certain videos. And I was watching just not too long ago one master teacher's live stream, and it's called "Why Aren't Black Women Submissive?" With JMR and Brandy, and Edward be tearing their ass up. It's hilarious to watch. I've only watched probably about maybe 15 minutes of it, but geez, like Edward, I don't want to be on the other side of Edward's rhetoric, though I think that we have similar sentiments in regards to how we see things in this world. But nonetheless, um, let's see. Where do I start? So for the women, it's a very trying time. It's very different than what things once were. Women are very social creatures. Everyone knows this. Everyone understands that women thrive off of an active life. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. They thrive off of being here and there and talking to this person or that person, not necessarily in a romantic fashion, but having conversations. Um, I've seen I trade stocks on the internet, of course, or different platforms rather, and I've seen an uptick. Like I've been watching Bed Bath and Beyond like crazy. It's been such a surge in their day to day stocks that is ridiculous. So I made a little money off of them, but nonetheless. Uh, this quarantine is affecting people, and it's affecting women in a way that they have not been affected before, just the same as it has the men. So the circumstances in which women find themselves in has not been such that they probably have experienced their entire life. Now, I won't say that, poverty and, different aspects of life cannot cause you to live your life as the way you have been living it currently, in some cases for some women. But what I'm saying is that it's a much different environment. And like I said in other streams, it's going to cause the women to change it to something differently than what they are. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be a doom and gloom stream, and I like to keep it real. I like to keep it funky. But nonetheless, I can't say that I have much positive to say. And the reason for that is because I've already I've already seen where things are going to go. You know, BGS predicted a long time ago that women were going to be forced to come back to the table, and the that has happened pretty much. It has happened in, you know, some aspects of women's day to day life. You know, they tend to look to men for more things than they did maybe 5, 10 years ago. And it's not necessarily saying that uh, they're becoming submissive. It's just that they're turning their direction more towards looking for leadership um, in regards to uh, you know, men being the head, you know, men being the leaders of things. But unfortunately, they have not fully onboarded the system that is necessary in order to take men as the role that they need them to be in their lives. Hey, Rainy Woman, I was just talking about you. But nonetheless, uh, the situation is what it is, and there's nothing that we can do. There's nothing that we can wish differently. There's nothing that we can alter in our lives to change the trajectory of where things are going. Because here's the thing that women should understand about men. Uh, Once men assess the environment, they're going to start moving in a direction, irregardless of what women say. Now, the climate that we were in previously, before all this stuff happened, lended lended simps into a lot of areas that they shouldn't have been to be able to call themselves men. What I have a prediction of is those areas are going to decrease. This decrease is going to come from men, this society teaching everyone that self is more importantly than everyone else. Now we understand that simps are very sacrificial, but you have to understand that, you know, just as much as this environment is going to change the women, it is also going to change the men as well, because now they're going to become, because they've already been very reactionary according to what women are doing, and they're going to be reactionary to what women are going to do during this as well. So, you know, for the women out there, I hate to say it, but exactly where you are is probably where you're going to be for a very long time, because men are going to start to assess the situation, and they're going to start to either distance themselves away from women, because no one wants to have a potential um I mean, because let's face it, and I have to be frank again. Women women are women can be an asset and a liability. And I explained this in other videos that, you know, let's say the Porsche, I'll go back to the same structure that I made. The Porsche is probably about the same length as a Geo Metro. But one is clearly worth more than the other. You know, they occupy the same space. They both need oil. They both need gas. They both need, you know, car washes. They both need the same basic essential things in order to maintain a car. There's really nothing differently that a Porsche needs from a Geo Metro. Let's just be honest about that across the board. Um, but one is clearly worth more than the other. And the reason why that is because one has more output as far as its performance than the other. So in certain aspects, if you first assess your liability, you can say that the liability of a Porsche, um, or excuse me, I'm talking about assets and liability, not liability as in insurance or nothing like that. I'm talking about the liability, meaning that the upkeep for both of these vehicles are pretty much the same. Especially if you put generally equal miles on them. Now, I've never had a Metro Geo, so I can't say that, you know, one is more efficient than the other. But nonetheless, we'll still roll with the analogy that I'm going with. But what I'm trying to get at is that they're going to occupy the same space. Now, if I'm a man, let's say that I was completely single, I had no children, and I had my own house in place. And during this pandemic, what I'm going to consider is what I need to do in order to keep myself afloat. Because some people have completely lost their jobs, some people are waiting on unemployment, some people don't have the streams of income that they once had. This is going to cause men to assess what liabilities they currently have and the ones that they should not take on. And this is the whole reason why the car market kind of crashed a little bit, for the same reason. People aren't going to go out and do things, especially men, because we understand that men, they buy not off impulse, but they buy for a reason. And when a man takes on a woman, he is essentially not one for one. I don't mean it literally, but he is essentially buying that woman, meaning that he is assessing at some point in time, um, that this woman is going to be worth something to him in some way, fashion, form, uh, uh, shape, of a fashion. It's going to be some kind of way that he's going to assess this. Now, what's going to happen? Like I said, this isn't going to go on anymore because just like the car market crashed a little bit. I mean, there are people still out there buying cars, but not at the numbers that they once were. I mean, even in my market, for my housing market, it's going down to a 0% because there's no movement of buying and selling in my own little district. I checked it. What was it, yesterday? And I was like, wow, really? Because it was predicting before all this that there would be a roughly 3.9% increase on property value for my zip code. It completely went down to zero, and that's because nobody is buying and selling at the rates that they once were before. Now, this is across the board. This is across the board for a lot of things. People are not, and I'm not saying everything, because there are some companies doing well. Like for instance, I looked at PayPal. PayPal took off during this. Why? Because it's a consequence of what the environment is. People can't leave their houses. People normally, revenue is generated still. People are still buying things, people are getting these stimulus checks. You can't you don't necessarily want to go out and risk it. If you can have your groceries delivered to you versus going to the grocery store, which one are you going to choose, especially if there is no cost to you to do the same exact things, to do them equally. Of course you're going to go out, you're going to go and use a service to have those things delivered to you. um, so the the landscape has changed in some directions for some things, but for the majority, everything went. The Dow dropped 50%, like straight up. That's a huge jump, and it's going to be the same in regards to women. Women, you're not going to be able to expect the same men to come around. It's pretty much like the pandemic caused you to hit the wall. That's pretty much what's happening. I even see it up and down my timeline of the single women. They're dying to do something. They're dying to interact with men because we should understand. If you have not, I understand it. Um, that women seeks men. They seek men light. Now, it used to come in the form of, simps giving women a little bit light here and there, giving here and there. Now that's completely stopped. So women have changed. This is what I've seen, personal experience. I'm not saying that this is 100% worldwide, just from my environment, from what I'm looking at. Women have, uh, they have went from, oh, I don't need a dude, I can do this, and then when the environment changes and things get a little sketchy, oh, I need a full-fledged man right now. You know, um, I need to be fully protected, and I'll do what I need to do a little bit, as far as submission goes. They're really considering this really hard because now they are faced with the reality that nothing is forever, especially this government and this economic system that we live in. They're starting to understand this, and I think that it's not going to necessarily get better because there are things that are going to be rearranged so much so that when you walk outside after the dust clears, you won't recognize the environment that you're in anymore. There are people who are completely losing jobs out here, completely. Um, and they say. the essential workers, are more than likely going to keep their jobs. But I see that shifting as well too. A lot of things are going to go to automation, because you have to think about this. This is something that we probably have collectively decided that this is probably going to go on for about another year and a half. Another year and a half, maybe 2 years. You think that people are going to keep putting their lives on the line just to just so you can pump your gas? No. They're going to find an automated system to replace that. They're going to lower their liability. That's the same thing that these companies are doing. And what that's going to do, that's going to push out the rest of the essential workers who had basically what are the equivalent of frontline jobs right now. I don't see it necessarily getting any better. But let's go back to what I was saying earlier. Men assess their liabilities and assets. A woman, a woman coming off the street is a automatic liability. I don't care where you came from, who you are, unless you're some millionaire. Even then, men still might be like, why are you at my door? If you're a millionaire, why are you at my door all of a sudden? We're going to question that. You know, um, so as far as women coming back to the table and being able to get the man that they feel that they need in their lives, I don't think that's going to happen for a long while. And this time, what's going to happen, because this is all reflective based on the environment. What I see men doing is, because I was going to do another video a long time ago. I was going to name it, and I still might do it, but I think everybody might get the gist of it, and I don't necessarily need to talk about it, but I'll talk about it here. I was going to do a video that was going to be called "The Gynocracy Separates Men from God," and I based this off my own personal experience, because I understood that when men are away from distractions, they seem to seek something that's higher than them. And I don't necessarily want to say that every man seeks God, but they seek something that's higher than them, that has more power than they do. And I don't necessarily, I mean, I understand why from my point of view, um, which I won't necessarily go in here, but that's what's going to happen. That's what this environment is going to create, because it's going to separate the men from the women, and it's going to keep the men who do not have women, who do not have children. It's going to further isolate them, because they're going to go into this reserve mode. They're going to say, "I need to look out for me, and I don't need to take in any more liabilities." If you think that 50% of men who didn't have children were 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 going to come back to the table, then nah, that definitely ain't happening now. I mean, because they already were looking at the landscape and saying, well, majority of these women, they ain't acting right, so I don't think I necessarily want to have a family. Now this pandemic has given them a reason to not even think about that anymore. What women have right now is exactly what you're going to get. I don't see you getting any more than what you currently have in regards to male energy. And I see that possibly decreasing based on your standings with whatever male that you have in your life. Um, and I'm not necessarily saying the women who are married and doing what they're supposed to do according to uh, their standings with their significant other, that they're going to automatically get decreased. You'll probably get an increase, because the distractions are being taken away. So he's going to focus more on the family and things that he needs to do, in with this time. But I'm talking about the women who were on the fence, ready to come back possibly, and wanted to have the conversations. You're not going to see anything anymore. There are going to be a lot of men who are going to retract away from entertaining women at all. That's just what's going to happen. And I don't know what that necessarily means. I don't think that that's going to mean a lot of kill off for women if something were to happen dramatically. I mean, because we're in a very vulnerable state, just like the rest of the world is. But who's to say that calamities still happen? You know what I mean? You just because we have an economic shift and an economic turn down, that doesn't mean that a tornado isn't going to come through Kansas when it's tornado season. That doesn't mean that Louisiana is no longer at risk from flooding. No, no, no. the world is still going to turn. There are still things that are going to happen that are going to be natural occurrences, but where are the men going to be? We're going. I mean, because once again, you have to go back to the template that I set up. Men, they're going in a state where they're going to look out for self preservation. So when something happens, that self preservation is going to carry over. They're going to be like, we're still in this environment where I need to self preserve. So all that chivalry, I guess you can call it that, all these things that were freely given to women at one point in time during these times of need, during these times of, um, I'll look out for this person because it's not going to be too much of a loss to me, though it may be a loss. That's going away. That's going away because men are going to start to retool themselves in such a way that they are going to go into self-preservation mode if they haven't already. I see it coming personally because men, we are good at foresight. We would rather have than go without. A lot of times if we can prevent it, it's the difference of if I'm on my last $10, and I'm working, even during the week. If I know, let's put it in a short term phase. Let's say that um, I'm working a job minimum wage, and a female cousin of mine or something like that, a good female friend of mine's come to me and say, "Hey, let me borrow $20," and I got $40 in my account, but I know I get paid next week on Friday. Today is Saturday, so I have to travel another week on $20. Versus if I don't have a job and I don't know where my next thing is coming from, and that same woman comes to me, you think I'm gonna give up my half of what I have in my account to survive until whenever? Because I don't know when my next coming check is coming because I don't have a job anymore. You see what I'm saying? The climate is changing. And then on top of that, if you stack it with if you stack that, now this is a quiet climate, meaning that yes, people are dying, but it is nothing that is rushing through your door. It is nothing that is forcing its way into your life so long as you isolate yourself. What happens during a tornado? What happens during a calamity? What happens during these things? What happens during a natural disaster? You think that that's going to go away? No, that's not going to go away. It's going to increase. These men who are on their last $40 until who knows when are going to be they're going to be tight asses pretty much. They're not gonna walk out in the street and help anybody because if you stack if you stack this pandemic of isolation on top of an incident, do you think the women are going to get anything that they haven't? You think the women are going to get something extra that they haven't been getting already? Nah, it's going to go in the opposite direction. And like I said, this isn't necessarily a doom and gloom situation or circumstances. And I'm not, we can look out our windows and we can see cars driving up and down the road. We go to Walmart and, we see people shopping, people are kind of still doing their thing. But don't get it twisted. This environment is still a environment of seclusion, and it's not just physical seclusion. People aren't going and doing the things that they were doing before because of this environment. Don't let that misrepresent the reality. The reality that circumstances are still in existence, that this virus is out here and you could potentially die from it. That's just how it is. That's the facts. No one can dispute this. Sure, the numbers of incidences are going down, but we're worried about a second wave of this stuff potentially coming because we understand through history in regards to pandemics, this is this trend of how things happen. It's not necessarily saying that that's what's going to happen because we live in a more technological economy. What's going on, BJ? I seen you up there. Um, but um, so there may be some curveball, but we were blindsided by this. We were blindsided by this, even during our technological age. So you can't just completely rule out that it just because we live in this age that everything is going to be taken care of almost instantaneously. We we've had the ability to stop this from happening well before it happened. just like any other calamities that we dealt with. I mean, we go back to the stuff that happened at, up in upstate New York with that hurricane that came through. It was at Sandy something. I forgot the name of it. We've had the stuff down in Louisiana. We've had the technology to prevent this stuff, yet it still happened. So you can't 100% rely on that. If something happens during this time, that everything will automatically be taken care of. I mean, our economy is under strain already. We've just sent out $2 trillion to the American citizens. How much more can this this system take before it collapses? How much more can it take? So if something else happens, I'm not sure that our economy is going to make through it. That's the reason why President Trump got on there and said that even if this second wave comes around, we're going to keep the country still open because we can't economically handle it. That's why. So if something happens where we are forced to spend money through the government, through the aids and services that the government offers, and it and it pushes us into another economic chaos again, how you can't depend on the environment. And I understand that we live, in modern societies. Most of us don't know how to hunt. We don't know how to grow our own food. We don't know how to survive without electricity, running water. We don't know how to do these things. But you have to understand, like I said, that as a woman at this point in time, with all this stuff that's going on, you think that if something happens again, that a man is going to come save you? No. You haven't put in the sacrifice that is necessary for him to call you an asset. That's the unfortunate thing about it. Like I said, this is not a doom and gloom stream at all. This is me just telling the facts. This is something that you have to consider. I mean, how long are the women going to live in a denial state that someone will come and save them if something happened? I mean, we just seen that that's not true. Did FEMA come and hand you a COVID test and a COVID vaccination? No, we're still in seclusion because nobody knows how to address this directly. So if something happens during this time, we're gonna be faced with the same circumstances again because we don't understand what we should be doing during this time other than what we're doing. We came up with a quick response, but it wasn't a comparable response to save human lives. That's the thing. People still died even though we responded to it. Thousands of people still died. This is the government we're talking about, which is made up of men who are paid to figure this out. So you think the dude down the street is going to help you out when he's not even been paid? No. You think your distant cousin across town is going to come check on you when y'all haven't spoken in years? No. You think your ex, who you treated poorly and so bad to the point where he no longer wants to deal with you anymore, you think he's going to come save you? You think any of these simps out here who are on self-preservation mode as well are going to look at you as an asset during a calamity? Hell no, they're not. that's what that's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. I mean, all this, like I said, is very unfortunate. But women have made their decisions of where they stand on this issue. They have sided with um, the government and the courts. They have sided, with the police. They have sided with all the powers that go against the men who have nothing but good intentions. In them, they have pretty much raped the land of 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 the men who want to do good by them. You burned your bridges. So where are you going to go when your area starts flooding? You have no you isolated yourself onto an island. And that island is I can do it all by myself. The echoes of I don't need a man are still echoing now. Though women are not saying that directly, but where's the submission before all this? Where was it? Where was it? Where were the women in droves coming back to confess the things that they have done wrong? and actually make amends for those things? Where are the droves of women going down to the court system saying that I will no longer engage in these practices that are pretty much cutting the knees off of the men who support me? Where is it? Where were you when you were telling your boys that they're probably not going to be anything when they grow up, and treating them bad and telling them that you'll kick them out at any turn of a hat if they don't do what you say? You burning your bridges. You burnt them. Who's going to save you if you cannot? If you double down on the government, you double down on the system, but the system is strained right now. Who's going to save you when the system completely collapses? You burned all your bridges in praise of the system. You've chosen your program. So when the program can no longer feed you, you're going to turn to the men who you stepped on to get where you need to go and expect them to smile and say, "Oh, I'm glad to have you back." No, that's not what's going to happen. And like I said, it's very unfortunate, but we make our own choices here. We've been grown adults for as long as we've been grown adults. No one forced you to do what you've done in your life. And I'm not saying that every woman who has, done something uh, can't come back from it, but it's too late at this point. You've made your decisions. You've made your bed. I mean, what else can I say to you? It's unfortunate, but nonetheless, the reality is the reality. And there's nothing that you, me, or anyone else can do to change that. If nature wants to do something, nature's going to do it. We are very reactionary to nature because nature is something that evolves day by day. We find new There are so many species of animals, plants, and insects and viruses and all types of things on this planet that we don't even know about. And we've been here since we've been here for 200, 400,000 years as human beings, and we still don't understand entirely the landscape that we are walking on day to day, right next to us. There are things within this country that we still don't understand, let alone the world, and we walk past them every day. So, how is it that we're going to prevent things from happening of which we do not fully understand? We're very reactionary. Nature does what it wants to do. My point, though, when nature does what it does and you burnt your bridges with all the people who were in support of you as a woman, in support of you becoming better, who had the best interests of relation with you, who are you going to turn to? You're going to turn to nature. That's the only thing that's going to be left that may save you. But men don't even fully understand nature, let alone women. Not to say that there are not biologists that are female out there, but if we as a whole don't understand it, you're going to turn to it and somehow make the world work again? Is that what's going to happen? No, no, that's not what's going to happen. So, this is where we are. This is how things are. Women need to stop living in a fantasy world that someone is going to come save them. This is not the environment for that. The best thing that you can do right now is take the faculties that you have within yourself and fortify yourself in a way that prevents you from being victim to anything else that may happen during this time, because there may not be anyone that comes to save you. Like I said, it's unfortunate, but no one made these decisions for you except you. I feel like I'm talking to my kids, and I'm telling that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm having a conversation with my kids about what they should have done with their time, and now they're potentially faced with a situation that is unavoidable. What can I say to them? As much as I love them, as much as I care for them, what can I say to them that I haven't said to them before to change their outcome? There's nothing that I can say. All I can say is I wish you luck. That's all I can say. You know, you know, I'm not saying that things may not recover. I'm not saying that things may not go back to normal, but they won't go back to what you thought they were going to be. That's what I say. And I say that because that's the facts. That's the facts. This landscape that you thought was going to be forever and a day is changed forever in a day. It'll never go back to what you thought it was. So if you do get a glimmer of hope, if this rain cloud, brings the sun back out again, the rain goes away, the wind calms. I suggest, I highly suggest that you be the woman that you're supposed to be rather than what society has told you you should be, because this should be a indication to you that no matter what society says, there's things that can happen directly to you that society cannot prevent from happening to you. That's what these circumstances should be telling you, that you need to rely on the people who got your back. It's no different than that job. You know, Kendra talked about this before, I believe, that women will submit to a job who doesn't care if you die tomorrow, but you won't submit to the man at your house right now who will die for you in an instant. That makes no sense to me. But yet and still, here you are faced with a circumstance that could potentially collapse this government completely, and yet you remain still obstinate. I mean, come on, like how much does submission sound? When you're faced with death. I mean, how does that sound to you? It's either death or submit. I mean, is it really a hard is it really a hard decision to make? And I'm not necessarily saying that every man out there has the answers at all. But let's face it, if this society collapses, we are left at the whims of nature. And if we go back to what nature has taught us, is that men are the barriers between women and children according to nature, from nature. We are the ones who protect you from nature. So you think there's going to be some Walking Dead type shit where you're gonna fucking slice some zombies in half? No, no. Remember, we're facing a virus that we can't even physically see with our eyes that are killing people. Yeah, you gonna slice a virus in half? I mean, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's just how it is. You this whole, like I said, this is, we don't have women in drove saying that they necessarily don't need a woman or they need a man, but your behavior echoes it. It echoes it very loudly. You don't have to say it anymore. We hear you loud and clear. But what are you going to do if this system that you devoted your time, your effort into upholding collapses? Who are you going to turn to? Who's going to help you? Like I said, those simps that you stepped on back there, that actual man who you said that would never be anything in your life again because he didn't do what you want him to do. That's who you're going to turn to. Who you going to turn to? These simps ain't going to save you. They barely know how to get it together. So they like I said, they're going in self-preservation mode. So when you need an actual man and you have not put down the down payment before, it's like insurance, right? You know, how does insurance work? You buy the insurance in hopes that if something happens one day that you're covered. That's what insurance policies do. But you haven't paid the insurance. So who's going to cover you when something happens? I don't think women are looking at it that way. They're looking at how much can I get away with not paying. That was a common thing in Detroit. It was people. Yeah, even still to this day, there are people who are making fake insurance in order for people to get, their state registration because you need insurance for that. There are people who are still making it today. But what happens when you actually get into an accident? What happens? Sure, the simps to me are the fake insurance. Sure, you bought the fake insurance. But when you're faced with an actual situation where your life is on the line because you need that $50,000 medical insurance, and they're telling you that I don't know if we're going to be able to cover the costs that is going to take for to keep you alive because of this accident. Who's your insurance provider? What are you going to say? You're going to pass me that fake insurance? This is nature who we're talking to, by the way, because actual men are the insurance. They are the insurance that if something happens, that you're going to be covered. We've always been your insurance. Who else has provided for you more than any entity on this world? Think about it. Since the dawn of man, since the dawn of existence, who else has provided for you more than men? I mean, we can talk God, definitely, but I'm talking about in a physical sense. Who has tilled your fields? Who has built your roads? Who has built that house that you're in? Who has built the car that you now drive? Who is creating this revenue system that you rely on to live? And yet you scoff at us? Now, by any means, I'm not saying that we're necessarily a deity or anything like this. We are a working system just like you are. But there are certain things that you have to pay for insurance. That's just how it works. You don't get insurance for free. What did you do for free insurance? Even at a job, they tell you that you're going to have to wait 90 days before you get insurance. That's no different than these men out here. And you think that you're going to get automatic insurance in the face of a calamity? Definitely not. There was an incident that happened in Colorado about 2013-ish. It was a Waldo Canyon fire. You may have seen it on the news. And what it did, it destroyed hundreds of acres of trees and plants across a hillside. That's what happened. And if you know anything about geology, if you know anything about plants, this is the reason why when you go different places, like especially common during down the south, especially in floodplains, that there's a vegetation that is planted across the side of the road. If you notice that there's like grass and there's people that upkeep it, that's there for a reason. That's there that if it rains, the trees and the plants keep the soil intact so that it does not slide onto the road. That's what that's there for. So just imagine if you burn hundreds of thousands of acres across the extended surface. The Waldo Canyon is an actual canyon, and it rains. You know how many people were calling for insurance policies? They didn't have before because we're not in floodplain zone at that point in time. But after the trees were burnt up, and now that it started to rain, all this stuff was coming down the mountain because the trees were not there to absorb and keep the structure in place. So people called the insurance company and said, "Hey, can I get some flood insurance?" And you know what the insurance company said? No, of course not, because we know what you're calling for. We know you called us because now you're in the flood zone. But we offered you that policy a long time ago, and you told us, no, we're not in the flood zone anymore. Well, I don't live in a flood zone. I don't need flood insurance. So, you know, I don't want to pay the money for that because I don't foresee a time that I will need insurance for that. And guess what happened? Waldo Canyon fire. No one's seen that coming. Oh, am I breaking up? I don't know why. Can y'all hear me clearly now? Can I get a 1-1? How much of that did y'all miss? Because that's a very important analogy that I just made. What's going on, my Kendra? Okay, so y'all can hear me good. Okay, all right. But anyway, I'll recap. I'll recap again. Like I said, in 2013 there was Waldo Canyon fire, and that canyon fire, it destroyed a lot of landscape in regards to the vegetation. The vegetation is planted. It is there because of oh no, I don't know. It just happens every once in a while. But the vegetation was planted there to prevent mudslides and prevent flooding. Now, during this time, after the Waldo Canyon fire, people denied before the Waldo Canyon fire, people denied in certain areas flood insurance, and the reason why they denied it is because they were not in a flood zone anymore. Now, when this Waldo Canyon fire, it took away the protection that these people had to not be in a flood zone. And once this fire happens, people panicked and they called their insurance companies for their houses. And they tried to get flood insurance. They were denied because they were offered it before. And the people said to them, "Oh, I don't need flood insurance because I don't foresee a flood happening. I don't foresee there's circumstances happening to where I would need flood insurance in the first place because it costs money to maintain insurance every month, right? It costs money to make sure that you're covered in the eventuality that something happens. So these people went without flood insurance. Their houses were destroyed. And the area that it destroyed, they were really, really nice houses. I'm talking about $300,000-$400,000 a house. They had a house that was completely destroyed, and the fucked up thing about it was, right, there were people who were actually setting their houses on fire because it had been flooded, because they had fire insurance but they didn't have flood insurance. You see what I'm saying? That actually happened. Like, really look into a Canyon fire and the results of that. That actually happened. That's a real thing. But the reason why I bring up that analogy is because these are the things that I'm telling you. I'm telling you that you have foregoed your insurance in the eventuality that nothing would happen to you. So when you call on men to take care of a circumstance that they offered you help with a long time ago, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to tell you, no, we're not offering flood insurance anymore because we understand the circumstances that you're in. And we understand that that will be a quick come up for you to recover from at a loss to us. That's what's going to happen. So for you all who have not invested in the proper flood insurance, I feel sorry for you. But it was offered to you at some point in time in your life. And if you didn't want to take it, then you have to deal with the consequences of having a flooded house that you can no longer use, that is inhabitable, and now you're homeless. So that has been my message. Hopefully everyone understands exactly where I'm coming from. Hopefully the analogies have helped you to understand what I'm saying. I think it's pretty straightforward, but it's unfortunate. We can't force men as much as power that men have. Women are our weakness. That's one thing that's for sure. But we should be there. We should be weak to women. Who we would love to be weak to women who mean us well. But that's not how it works. We're weak to women who mean us harm as well. That's just the truth of it. Now we don't come from a factory system that prevents us, or that gives us the ability to prevent us from choosing women who mean us harm. So we now have to include updates. These videos that the men of the manosphere have been making are pretty much updates to a system that is inept to handle the current program. That's how it works. And men, they have been getting their updates. And what they're learning from their updates is you should preserve self first and preserve the ones who have your back, that you can clearly see who have your back. That's why I don't see this getting any better, because you didn't buy flood insurance before the flood. That's just how it works. There were actually some people who didn't buy flood insurance and didn't buy fire insurance either. That's what made it extra funny. I have both on my house, and I'm not in the fires. I don't live next to the forest or nothing like that, and I don't live in a flood zone either. But I know what the potentials are. I know that there are things that can happen, even if the environment doesn't say that it's going to happen anytime soon. That Waldo Canyon fire came out of nowhere. No one seen that coming. That thing was on fire for like a month, 2 months. It was on fire for a while. Nobody knew how to respond to that because the government wasn't prepared for that. The local government wasn't prepared for that. Now we have all these fire safety classes, and we have this fire system now that we actually use, that was there before, that we didn't care about. All these things are in place now, but before that incident, people didn't take that serious because it was something that just didn't happen. Sure, we seen it in California and stuff like that, but that wasn't something that happened in Colorado to that magnitude. No, 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 that didn't happen before. But nonetheless, there are people who had insurance and there are people who didn't. There are women who have the men that they need during this time and forward, and there are women who don't. So live with the fact that you didn't pay for insurance. But anyway, let me read some of these comments. I'm sure y'all been saying some stuff. Let's go back on. Let's see. Uh, let's see here. Especially if she has been working on herself to be the woman, the man that she wants needs her to be. Yeah, that's another thing too. A lot of women, they discount that men actually want something out of women other than just sex. Wow, isn't that a revelation? As much as these simps would have you believe that sex is the only thing that you need to offer a man in order to keep him, need to do a little soul searching. Let's see here. Uh, I believe and feel some women are realizing the truth when it comes to our men, though. Men through this pandemic on the need, even if they don't change. But the thing is, like I said, it's too late. It's too late, and that's unfortunate because these men are going into self-preservation. I know y'all see it. Ask that dude that you've gotten money from in the past. Hey, let me borrow $5. He gonna be like, nah. He like, nah, I ain't got it right now, man. I'm telling you. This is why I like Kendra and Raining Woman. They keep it 100% concerning these topics. Period. Yep, that's how it is. And like I said, this is not a doom and gloom. This is me just telling women how things are as they stand. Like I said, I know this climate is probably telling people things a little differently because they see certain stuff, but don't let that stuff misdirect you from the actual reality of things. No, this stuff is still going on. These men, they're regressing from being simps as they were. So you can't expect the same things out of them before. And like I said, when women actually need an actual man, it's going to be too late. You didn't put the money on the insurance before this problem came for whatever you need the insurance for. That's just how it works. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Women need to be in self-preservation as well as showing themselves as resourceful and nurturing to the environment for a man if they really want one. That self-entitlement mirror is cracking faces. I agree. But once again, there's nothing that they can do about it. They're in a circumstance where it's going to be even harder. You think it was hard to find a decent man, a man who was worth something? Then it's going to be okay. You know how it was easy to find simps then? It's going to be like trying to find a good man, but you're looking for a simp now. It's going to get to that point. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. This pandemic has shattered the entire mirror of these faces. Yes, they have. The karma of being mean is going to wreak havoc on some of these women. I agree. No, you didn't miss much. I've been here for probably about a half an hour. Although I missed like a half an hour of yours today. I was giving the dog a bath. He was dirty. It's like his fur was dyed and it was just coming off because he's brown. It was dirty everywhere. It was crazy. Uh, I'm still friends with my ex and daughter's father. I love my brother's spirit. That's good. And that's the thing. If you have relationships that are structurally sound, they should be fine during this time. And I'm not necessarily saying that you're going to get what you got before, but you're not going to go without in regards to dealing with these men, how you have been dealing with them. If you treated a man decently for a long period of time, I don't necessarily see him regressing away from giving you what you need in the time of need. I see him probably actually doing more because if it's teaching the women one thing, it is also teaching the men one thing as well, that we need to hold on to our resources. And that includes the women who support us. Those are our resources during this time. You know, just as easy as, let's say for instance, you have a husband and he said, I need you to bake something, for other people, or I need you to watch somebody's kids for a friend of mine's. They're going through hard times or something like that, whatever. That stuff probably ain't gonna be happening no more because now he's gonna look at you and he's not going to outsource you as a resource to someone else. He's gonna hold on to you more so than he probably did before. So that's just how men are. If they see you as a resource, they're going to limit um, how they lend you as a resource to the outside world. They're going to cut back on that. That's what I foresee anyway, personally. That's just a speculation, but it goes in line with what I'm talking about, anyways. Uh, let's see here. Uh, Still here for me versus vice versa. Yeah, I'm there for him, and that's good. That's how it works. That's how it should be. And I, like I said, I don't see those relationships deteriorating if they have good standings before all this stuff. It goes back to the insurance. If you've been paying your insurance on time, I don't see the insurance company being like, nah, you know. And that's exactly what happened with my insurance. Like I had been paying my insurance on time, and they said, well, during this time we're gonna cut you a break. That's what happened. It literally happened. My insurance went down like $200, and I was like, wow, that's nice. you know, that's just how it works. If you've been doing what you need to do in regards to the people who got your back, they're not gonna cut you short. Unless they were shady to begin with, but that goes back to your vetting process. But for the most part, you should be straight. Most women who have good relationships, they should be straight. You know, I mean, even if you're starting out a relationship, that should be straight as well. I mean, especially if you're proving yourself beforehand. You have to have a track record when you're dealing with actual men. Simps, they'll let you through the door no problem, but actual men, they got a vetting process, and where you make it is where you make it. That's how it works. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. I thank you all for coming out and listening to my video. I appreciate the ears. Um, I appreciate you all listening to me and hearing what I have to say. Like I said, I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm just here to tell you the truth. That's it. I don't want to tell you nothing that's wrong. I'm just here to tell you the truth, and so you can be informed on what you need to do for you, regardless of what circumstance that you fall in. you know, you have a responsibility to yourself nonetheless. And that may involve or not involve someone else. But nonetheless, the facts are the facts. That's still the truth of it. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. You know, for the women that got us together, more power to you, definitely. More power to you. If you've been doing your thing, you got your stuff on lock, more power to you. I mean, because good men, we're far and few in between. So I don't fault a woman for not having a good man at all. Because I mean, to some degree, I can, because some women just, I don't know their lives, and I'm pretty sure they ran across one at some point in time, but maybe the time wasn't right. Because good women aren't not immune to the same things bad women go through too. Just as much as but good women, they have a more better chance of meeting a good man, but that's not 100% chance in the first place. So I never fault a woman for not having a man, especially a decent woman. That's just sometimes you draw the cards, And plus, I don't know them personally, I can't say that anything, because I know good women, I know good women, and I look at them and I'm like, it's unfortunate that you have to go through these things, because I spent a long time dealing with knuckleheads, so I know good women do the same thing, and sometimes it's a choice. Yeah, I can admit that I made some choices where I dealt with some knucklehead ass chicks. Yeah, I can definitely. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm perfect. No, no, no. you won't catch me doing that. Um, thank you much. Thank you much. I appreciate it. Nice information to do. Thank you. I appreciate it. It says I'm with Kendra. I'm where Kendra said earlier. Getting me together first before I enter someone else's life. Yes, that's important. That's important. We have a solid support system, and the men around me are making sure that I am cool as well as I am with them. Yeah, that's. If anything, these relationships should grow that you already have, and for the women that don't have none, that's what circumstances do. They exacerbate they exacerbate the energy. So if you had a good circumstance, a good relation with someone through certain circumstances, it's going to make those bonds a lot closer. And if you had bad situations with people, it's going to further make those situations bad with those people. That's kind of how it works. But yeah. Let's see. Don't expect me the way I am if I'm off balance. Don't accept me the way I am if I'm off balance. Yeah, yeah. Men, we're gonna tell you like, look, you're gonna need to get it together. Thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you. Hey, chill on the insurance hustle in Detroit, man. Hey, you know what it is. Hey, you getting that fake insurance quick in the mud. Hey, but once again, what happens when you get into an accident? Hey, you know how many cars I seen in an accident? Like right now, you can go online and you can look up accidents in Detroit, and it's just like people with abandoned cars because they ain't got no damn insurance. They take off running. It's like living in Mexico or something. I don't know. But anyway, I hope that you all have a good day. And definitely, peace be with you. I'm out of here.